How wide is the World Wide Web? This video was created by Bobby Panisser and Feroz Shah. To begin, let's get some insight into some basics. This would be the visible web, or in this case, the surface web. This is a common known place where us and the general public go to find out information. A typical scenario would involve a need for finding information about something. For the sake of this example, let's say we want to find information about cats. We'd open up our browser, whether it be Internet Explorer, Firefox, Google Chrome, or Safari. Then we would navigate to a search engine like Google, type in the word cats, click search, and wait and see what results would come up. The results tend to come up almost instantaneously. The question then lies toward how the results are what they are and why these web pages, not others.
This brings up elements in place behind how search engines work in the visible web. For example, let's use Google. Two concepts come to mind which briefly sum up how search engines work. The first concept is crawling, or web crawlers. Crawlers are computer software designed by search engines to discover publicly available web pages. The most well-known crawlers are called Google bots. Crawlers look at web pages and follow links on those pages, much like you would if you were browsing web content. They go from link to link and bring data about those web pages back to Google server. Once that is complete, we come to the second concept, which is known as indexing. Think of the web as a constantly growing public library with billions and billions of books with no organizational system. That could be a problem, don't you think? Well, if the web crawlers did their part, they would have gathered a large amount of information from the web pages during the crawl process, which now can be indexed. This allows search engines to know exactly what to look up. Much like the index in the back of a book, the search engine index includes information about words and their location. At a very basic level, when you search for something on a search engine, it scours its created indexes or library to find the most appropriate result. The search engines do all the looking and searching for you, so you can get the most relevant information easily and quickly.
Now that we got the basics out of the way, let's dive below the surface, so to speak. So we know what the surface web is all about, but what in the world is the deep web? The deep web is a place that comprises of unlisted pages or pages that have not been indexed. This means web crawlers have not found or are unable to locate the contents of these pages within this part of the web. As seen in this picture, what we discussed earlier represents the surface of the web, and now we will dive into deeper waters, pardon the pun. Think of the deep web much like an onion. The deep web has different layers. The deeper one gets, the harder it can be to decipher fact from fiction. It is a part of the World Wide Web that is not discoverable by any means of a standard search engine. It is said that this is its greatest weakness of the deep web. However, it is also its greatest strength. It is really hard to find specific items unless the user knows exactly where to look. So as mentioned earlier, there are two main layers of the deep web. The first layer comprises of web pages that can't be accessed using normal web browsers, like Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, whatever the case may be. These pages are unlisted for multiple reasons, including restricted content, or that the content has recently been added and the web crawlers have not discovered them yet. Usually these websites are not open to the public and/or require special access to view the content. Much like a school database of articles, unless you're a student, you won't have access. For instance, being a Ryerson student gets me access to certain business databases. They're not available to the general public. I can't use a search engine to access these pages. I have to go through a specific set of steps, and in some cases be on their specific internet network to access the desired content. So in this case, I am on the Ryerson wireless network, which initially required me to log in with my student number and password. This now allows me to instantly access the database of content that I want, but I have to do that going through the library resources page. I know what you're saying. Blah blah blah, this seems just systematic, nothing exciting about this layer of the deep web. Fair enough.
Then let's dive a little deeper into the second layer of the deep web. Unlike the first layer, the second layer requires a special browser, and being anonymous is essential. Protecting your identity is something heavily stressed when it comes to accessing the second layer of the deep web. A special browser like Tor is required to access these websites. This browser works by redirecting your IP on a network that is controlled by volunteers. By bouncing the communication around, it can prevent someone that is watching your searches from knowing what it is that you are actually doing. This allows a user on the Tor browser to search what they desire and not be traceable at all. This portion of the deep web is attributed with illegal activities. Don't believe me? Well, let me list some of the things that can be done on the second layer of the deep web. You can hire a hitman to kill someone that you really don't like. You can buy all sorts of drugs like marijuana, ecstasy, cocaine, and some things you probably haven't even heard of. You can buy weapons, and I mean any kind of weapon. Guns, knives, machetes, bazookas, AK-47s, atom bombs, kind of anything you want. You can watch child porn, you can buy credit cards that are not yours, the list kind of goes on. This can all be done without anybody knowing, as when you are within this layer of the deep web, you are essentially untraceable. A little scary, don't you think?
Disclaimer. Accessing the deep web in a general sense is legal. However, the content you can come across or the activities you participate in within the deep web can be illegal. All in all, the first layer of the deep web is where everyday folks should confine their web surfing to. If the second layer is where you desire to indulge yourself into, browse at your own risk. Happy browsing.